Hello, everybody. Thank you all so much for listening to Meaningless, where we look into internet nonsense and try to understand what in the hell it all means. I am joined today by a very special guest with whom I have a lot in common, most importantly of which, we're both into butt stuff. Dr. Kaveh Hoda, welcome back to Meaningless.
That is what I'm here for. I'm assuming this meme that we're going to address today is ass related.
It's always butt stuff, always butt stuff. No, it is not ass related. This is so. I do want to say real quick. Last time I forgot to have you do your plugs because you called me a bastard, and then I forgot. But
I do that. That's just how I introduce.
yeah,
Usually when I meet someone for the first time, I get right into that.
it was great. You know, I'm just glad that you just laid it all out on the table like that.
I calls them like I sees them.
And I am a bastard. You know, that's just in my nature. But you have a podcast, I think.
I do have a podcast. It is called The House of Pod. It is a humor adjacent medical podcast, and we sort of peel back the curtain on the world of medicine. We make fun of medical and wellness grifters, and we talk about the news of the day, of which unfortunately there's been just nonstop terrible stuff coming in.
Especially with your subject matter, you've got a lot to cover. You know, RFK and all that. You know, it's been a mess. It's been
the guy. He's great for content, terrible for humanity.
Yeah,
He's just a terrible person, and we decided to put the worst possible person in charge of all the healthcare. We're like, let's give that guy control of the whole thing, and we're in a weird spot now.
yeah. If it would be hilarious if it weren't so terrifying. But so let's see. I did have. Oh, I had ad copy for you to read. Let's see. I'm gonna. I wrote this a while back. I want to make sure I still like this ad copy before I send it to you.
Okay. Who am I shilling for here?
You'll see.
Is it Big Pharma?
It's big pharma. It's for you do ad copy on your show. I just feel like I want you to feel at home.
This helps, man. This does. I was feeling a little bit like lost, but now I feel like I'm back home. Today's episode of Meaningless is brought to you by the True Caveman Diet, because the science of health has nothing to do with study and observation. It's more about intuition and speculating that our disease-plagued ancient ancestors had it right the entire time. The True Caveman Diet lived to be almost 50.
That was
I kind of fucked that up for you. Sorry, man.
No,
sorry, but that is okay. Yeah,
you screwed up last time too. If you're ever on again, you have to screw up next time. It's tradition at this point.
That should be fine. That shouldn't be a problem. We should make that happen.
That's fantastic. I'll just have you read it every time. So, Dr. Kaveh, Hard Rock Kaveh,
sir,
Dr. Hoda.
Dr. Hoda is my father's name.
The only reason I wanted to go to medical school is so that I could say to people, "Oh, please, Mr. Haidari was my father. Call me Dr. Haidari."
Which reminds me, and I'm going to let your audience in on a little secret. I don't know if you've shared this with them. I'm going to out you right here.
Oh, no.
Because you said your last name. You are also Persian. Your listeners and your viewers may not know it, but I know it. I see through you. I hear the name Haidari, and I'm like, oh, this is it's like the Highlander. You know, like when you can sense another Highlander, you feel their presence.
Yeah.
Even though you're well hidden, you're even more like hidden than I am, which is pretty hidden. But I see you.
And when the first time I heard your voice, I was like, my ears perked up. I felt it. I'm like, that is the voice of a fellow Persian.
You feel it in your loins.
Yeah. That's where it comes from.
That's where my voice resonates the best.
That's where the Persian signal comes from, the loins.
Right.
So I have a meme for you to describe to our listeners. Now, this meme is not accompanied with an image. I do have a version that's accompanied with an image as well, but this one is the one I ran into, but there are variations of this going around.
It's Iran, not I ran into. It's Iran.
Yeah, Iran.
Come on, you should know this.
Wait, did I say Iran? There's no way.
You said I ran into, but I was making a joke because Sorry, that was a deep
Uh,
cut for
I
your
was like,
listeners. Sorry.
I'm like, I never say I ran. Gotcha,
That
gotcha. I that went right over my head. That really shouldn't
was
have.
my bad, my bad, my bad.
It's those thinking jokes. It's those really smart ones that go over my
Yeah,
head.
I'm well known for my really highbrow humor.
Yes.
Poop jokes is why it's funny because I make a lot of poop jokes in my
Yes,
job.
yeah. The best jokes are the ones you have to explain.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
I'm gonna put this into our chat here and send it to you. You don't have to read this whole thing, but just give like a general description of what this meme is.
Okay. Okay. Here we go. This is what looks like almost a ad you would read in like a newspaper. It's in sort of that black and white, the sort of print, and in the top, it's just a bunch of words. There's a bunch of writing, so it's not an image, but it's just a bunch of writing, and it says Trump is a predator in the top, and then it has listed 1 through 6 the names of people, and in this, the first name is Michael Parker, 10 years old, oral rape, Mar-a-Lago, Palm Beach, Florida, 1992. Trump paid his parents a $3 million settlement. What?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. So that's why it caught my attention. There's 6 of these claims here, right? And
And they're all young,
they're-
like from 11 to 10 to like 13.
I think 13 is the oldest on this list. And so here at Meaningless, we seek the truth when it comes to internet nonsense, and that's why I would like to emphasize that the first sentence of this meme is 100% true. I fact-checked the hell out of it, and Donald Trump is in fact a predator. In my research, I was also able to verify that he is a disgusting, upward-failing dictator piece of shit. So the first sentence is absolutely, without a doubt, verified, allegedly.
Yes.
But of those who have paid any attention to
Well
recent
covered. Well
events,
covered. I like how you threw
see,
that allegedly. It is all alleged.
that always that,
Or
that
is it?
absolves
I don't
you
know.
from that absolves you from any libel, any
Right.
type of legal action that could be taken. I said allegedly.
You did. You did.
It's
I
kind of
heard it.
it's
I
kind of
heard
like
it.
how Alex Jones will yell killed him, killed him, killed him, and then throw it politically at the end of it.
For entertainment.
Yeah, he's a character.
I'm playing a character right now.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
If I get sued, this is a character. I'm a character.
You are a character.
I am absolutely a character. But those of us who have paid any attention to recent events may find us confused or find ourselves confused by the rest of this meme. There is a list of alleged victims of Trump's predatory behavior, along with monetary settlements made to the families due to said behavior. Where this post arouses suspicion is that most of these victim names are unfamiliar, and the cases seem to be outside the scope of what has been covered in the news or even what's commonly circulating online. Evidence of Trump's past predatory behavior is very much in the spotlight right now. So if there were 100% validity to this meme, we would have certainly heard about these accusations and lawsuits by now, and we would have heard about it with a tremendous amount of frequency. Accordingly, I knew I was looking at nonsense when I saw this show up on Twitter, or as some imbecile renamed it, X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Twitter. It's interesting because I'm looking at this list of, victims and I'm not putting it past the hardcore MAGA. I'm not talking about the rank and file Republicans, but the hardcore MAGA. I'm not putting it past them to dismiss if he did something like this. But the fact that or excuse it and find some way around it, like he was deep, deep, deep undercover in that world or whatever.
You see, okay, he was so in order to pass the smell test.
He had to do these
he had to fuck
11-year-olds.
Yeah, had to
sure.
fuck children, and it's
like the same way
that
to
save more children.
Exactly. Well, but the thing is, so I don't put it past them to excuse it or find some mental gymnastics to explain it. But the fact that we've never heard about it from anything else, and I'm just seeing this meme right now with the names, makes me think this is like some weird psyop.
Yeah,
or
it's
yes,
that's what psyop is what I thought too, or controlled opposition, as some would call it, that kind of thing, or troll bait of some kind.
Yeah,
but there's actually a little bit of deeper origin to it than that. It's a little bit more complicated than that. I figured this was somebody on the right, some right wing troll, sending this out so that somebody on the left would share it. They could call it out as not true and say, "See, they'll accuse Trump of anything," that kind of thing.
Right.
That's kind of what I had assumed that this meme was until I started looking into it. Let's see here. I lost my spot in the script. How could I do that? There we go. Oh
That's
yeah,
why I don't write them. That's why I never write a script
yeah.
because it's too much work. I mean,
Yeah.
primarily.
And then you find yourself trying to find your way through your script, and oh my God. But I have ADHD real bad, so I need the script. Otherwise, we will never finish this episode.
Understood.
So I had to look into this meme because it is rare that something seemingly made up out of whole cloth hits anywhere near the mainstream, at least from the left, or what seems to be from the left, or an anti-Trump meme,
Mm.
type of thing. Because there's plenty of real stuff to go around about Donald Trump that you don't have to
Right.
make shit like this up.
Right. Right.
So this did kind of spark my attention, and I wanted to track down where it came from. There's also the fact that I did not stumble across this, like, searching for nonsense memes. I do that sometimes, like, because there are some pages where people will share, like, this is what our aunts and uncles are sharing on Facebook, that kind of thing. And I didn't come across it like that. I was just scrolling through Twitter, and I saw this in my feed as if it was, regular news. And,
Oh, this was on Twitter, is where
yeah,
you saw this.
yes, yeah,
Ah,
that's where
okay.
this popped up at. And, there's usually when it comes to pure nonsense, it's not as often shared by people from the left. And this being an anti-Trump meme, like, am I wrong? Am I wrong to say that usually when it comes to from the ground up bullshit, the right wing is usually the culprits?
I think this is a really interesting. First of all, I appreciate that you chose this one, and I see where you're going with this, and I think it's a really interesting discussion because bullshit comes up on both sides,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah,
generally, the people on the left that kind of believe the weird bullshit that the left produces or is produced for left consumption, I feel it's a smaller percentage
yeah.
of the party or the people, but it can clearly happen. And
Mm,
and it's funny because the difference I feel is that at least on the left, when bullshit like this happens, there are people like you who I'm assuming is not right of center, who will look at it and be like, hey, everyone, this is bullshit.
yes.
And part of that is because they're younger people, they're more savvy, they know how to sniff out bullshit on the internet better than old people do. Old people will fall for bullshit. They're getting a little bit better as they get older, but they still fall for bullshit.
Right.
Facebook
Yeah.
is like the reason, that's the reason Facebook is what it is.
Yeah.
But like people on the left are a little bit better at sniffing that shit out, partially because they're younger, partially because there are people who will be willing, like you, who are like, hey, listen, I hate Trump as much, if not more, than the person who posted this.
Mhm.
But the truth of it is, it's not accurate. And
Right.
it's important to not just blindly post shit like this out and retweet it. It's I think it's a really interesting discussion. Is that a inherent problem or weakness in the left? I don't know. Is it something that I believe we should do? Absolutely. I think we should do these things, point out like problems. We should call out what's real and what's not. Would we maybe be a stronger party overall if we didn't and we just all bought into this nonsense?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we get some more votes, but I don't want to live like that. I don't want to be like one of those people down the right who believes Tom Hanks is like secretly sex trafficking people because he saw a dumb meme on it, like
Yeah.
on Facebook,
Drinks blood and all that stuff. And yeah, no, and I think that in a lot of cases, and later on in the script we'll discuss that a little bit more. In a lot of cases, it's more important to call out bullshit on our own side, because when it gets exposed, it does so much more damage to our side. If the right is producing a lot of bullshit and it's easy to expose, then it makes them look like liars, you know. But if they can parade around something that's being spread by the
Oh,
left, then everything we say is a
you're
lie, you know.
you're
So
you're 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 absolutely right. It is an imbalance, and it's totally unfair that someone on the right could post something about like Tom Hanks sucking the blood out of like small children for his adrenochromes or whatever, and then someone will disprove it, and then it just disappears. No
right.
apologies, nothing like that. Disappears and it's gone. It's okay. Did a damage it needed to do, and it's gone. But if the same exact sort of lie, or even a lesser version of it, came from the left and then is disproven, then it is like paraded around as a reason to never trust the left in a way that I don't believe it is done on the right. I mean, I
Yeah.
really just, I'm trying to be
And
as
people on the left,
objective as possible.
right, and people on the left as well will sort of cut off that limb, you know, and in a way, like it. So it's kind of like in recent news when certain left wing commentators are getting fired, whereas right wing ones are literally prescribing violence and they're keeping their jobs, and nobody
Yeah.
seems to care on that side.
Yeah.
And whereas the you know if you're on the left, you're held to a higher standard, and it's like you said, if we were to start playing their game, would we do better than we're doing? Maybe. But like you also said, I don't want to live in that world. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be
Yeah.
a part of the lies and the nonsense and the hate. So it's important to call things
Yeah.
out when it's clear bullshit. You know,
Yeah.
especially something like this that most people looking at it will be able to see that it's bullshit. You know, most people who follow the news to any extent will be able to see that it's bullshit.
Yeah.
From the beginning. But
You're
and
gonna get to this. I'm looking forward to it, but I am curious to know if this was like AI generated or if this was like somebody where this came from and like whose thought was behind this, what the
yeah,
thought was behind this
I
post.
mean, it's I'll tell you, I was surprised. I was surprised by the origin of this one. But the and actually it's right here in the script. Every factual claim in this meme can be traced back to a quote unquote investigative journalist named Wayne Madsen. Except for the first sentence about Trump being a predator, that one traces back to Trump being a predator.
Yeah, that one checks out with everything else we know. First of all, can I say this? What you don't need to
Allegedly.
be you're such an honest podcaster. Like the fact that coincidentally there was a perfect segue into your script. You you didn't even need to admit that, but that's how honest the guy you are, is that you couldn't even hide that. Like absolutely most podcasters would have just gone into that part of the script that fit perfectly into the segue there. That's an inside baseball thing for your listeners, just to
Yeah.
know that they're dealing with there's a straight shooter, a real straight shooter here.
It would have made me look really cool if I could just glide right into it that way, you know, and
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
and
Yep.
not admit that that was literally the next part of the script. Um,
Good on you.
but Wayne Madsen, he calls himself an investigative journalist, and on his website, he is referred to as a former ComSec analyst for the NSA. ComSec is short for communications security, which refers to the protection of sensitive information that is transmitted via telecommunications. So some might presume that Madsen would have had access to classified data. However, there's a bit of a flaw in that logic when it comes to protecting data. Access to what that data is not always necessary. It's not usually necessary. In fact, when setting up a VPN, for example, they don't need access to nude photos of somebody that they may have taken in the middle of the night when they were bored and they had the house to themselves and couldn't find anything interesting to watch online.
Hmm. This feels
Accordingly,
personal.
being a contractor for the NSA does not buy him more credibility in my book. Now,
Wait, can I ask you a question?
yeah, yeah.
Because I'm an old. How did you trace it back to that person? How did you find that it was this Wayne Madison person?
So, I started looking into the individual names and some of these claims because there are specific claims, you know, like money amounts, years, names, and ages, things like that. And every single one of them is a claim made by this Wayne Madsen guy. And he's a character. I don't know if you've ever listened to a podcast called Knowledge Fight.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
sure, yeah.
yeah. So the Wayne Madsen, his name showed up on Knowledge Fight like way at the beginning of their show, and he's been an ongoing joke in that show for a long time. They even released a shirt that's based on a claim that Wayne Madsen made.
Hmm.
So the um,
So he's Alex Jones adjacent.
Yeah, yeah, which I shouldn't have mentioned that really because it's in the script, but I got ahead of it. But so he now God, it's right fucking here. So this meme is an anti-Trump meme, which is interesting because, like I said before, the largest purveyors of nonsense tend to be on the right, and in this case, however, that is still true. Madsen is in fact a batshit conspiracy theorist who would regularly show up on libertarian and far right podcasts and radio shows. And it's funny. As I was writing notes for this script, I had to consciously tell myself not to keep reusing the phrase "batshit" to describe this guy. And as I
It's
was
offensive to guano.
no, yeah, no, it was offensive to bats.
Right.
But no, 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 really though. Like I had to because I kept using it's the best term to describe this dude.
Yeah.
And while I was researching, I came across a professor, an intelligence expert named John Schindler, who referred to Madsen as batshit crazy, to use the technical term.
I like Schindler. I It's be
That's pretty good.
a name associated with interesting, good people.
So most people like Haidari. Haidari is
I mean, it's a well-known thing. It means dope dude in Farsi, in case anyone out there wanted to know.
yeah, it means great dude, great dude. Um,
So,
most
so-
people, so most people who keep up on the news would recognize that most of the claims of this meme are likely to be baseless. However, it is important to address bullshit that appears critical of Donald Trump because memes like these become cherries for the right wing to pick, and they try to make it look like everyone who's anti-Trump is sharing nonsense like this.
Right.
And
Look, they're
Madsen,
crazy. They do this crazy stuff. Look at the kind of Trump derangement syndrome that we're dealing with. This is what they put out there. And they're the crazy ones. They're the violent ones. They're the crazy and violent ones. Look.
yeah, and then why hasn't he released the Epstein files then?
Yeah.
Well, no, you see the crazy anti-Trump people. They got in there too.
Yeah.
They got in there.
Oh,
See,
there's all kinds. This guy, Wayne Madison, probably while he's working ComSec, was involved in creating the Trump files and these Epstein files.
yeah,
So why?
and he did
Why?
that. He did that as a ComSec contractor for the NSA back when he worked as one in the 19 fucking 80s,
Yes, deep
and
state
not
shit,
since.
man.
You know,
Deep state. Deep.
he knew
Shit.
back then that
Yeah.
Trump would eventually run for president, and he
Yeah,
had to get ahead of that.
Right. Because he saw him on Oprah once in the 90s.
That's probably it.
So,
But Madsen is very vocally anti-Trump. He calls the administration the Fourth Reich. I'm not going to argue with him on that point. But Madsen is not a good source of information, and the fact that this meme can be traced back to him is problematic. Unfortunately, he gets his insidious little paws into a lot of online discourse, and the abundance of crap that he produces does not always stay tightly sealed in the dimmer parts of the internet. We have to face it, Kaveh. The internet has bullshit incontinence, and it's getting everywhere.
wow, I love it when you speak to me in a language I understand as a
Yeah.
gastrointestinal doctor. I appreciate that because, again, I'm an old man and these things help me relate to the youth. So that helps me understand what's happening here.
Yeah. See, I have to put it in poop terms in
Yep.
order for you to understand. And
Appreciate it.
It's funny because the next line in the script is Dr. Hoda. Any ideas as a gastroenterologist what can be done about the internet's condition?
Wow. It needs a thorough cleanse. And man, we need to flush it out.
Yeah.
flush it through completely. Would I like no, listen, this is a little inside help for your listeners. Sometimes when there's a real bad problem in the GI system, in the GI world, we like to do sort of a reset. So we flush you out really good with all kinds of stuff, and then we try to build back the colon in a healthier way. So absolutely we could do that, but I'm also pretty sure that no matter what we did to the internet, within if we restarted the whole thing within a day, it would be terrible again. There's just no way because people. I'm not. I don't know if I'm an optimist or a pessimist anymore. I don't know, but I do believe that the most worst people will find their way to anonymous sources whenever they can, and that is an unfortunate truth here.
Yeah.
But your bowels could do better, people. Fiber. Sorry.
Yeah, the internet needs to change its diet. It's
Oh my God, it needs more fiber. So bad. It needs
clean
more fiber.
clean that shit out.
Yeah.
Um, Now the Madsen has a tendency to take advantage of the net's leaky sphincters, and he forces through bullshit wherever he can find an opening. In 2013, the London Observer published a front-page story using Madsen as a major source, but pulled the article the same day because of Madsen's history of touting nonsense conspiracies. But the damage had already been done. Publications like Salon and The Guardian continued to refer to Madsen as a credible source of classified information. If they had done even the slightest look into this guy, they would be able to tell immediately that he is not only not a credible source of information, but an abundant source of the stenchiest bullshit.
Do you know? Can I add something real quick here?
Yeah.
Here's why it's so unfair, because I'm trying while you're talking, I'm trying to Google Wayne Madison to see if I could
Madsen.
figure Madsen.
Yeah,
Like M-A-D.
Madsen. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So let me look that up real quick. And while I look that up, I see South African cricketer.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's not him.
Can't
And then
trust it.
American quote unquote journalist.
There you go. That's the one,
Okay.
the quote unquote journalist.
Okay, this is good. This is good. This helps me because wow, he has a whole Wikipedia page. He is like for real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm
He
sorry. Go on.
exists
Go on.
so hard. Like, unfortunately,
He exists. He over exists, perhaps.
I think so. I think he does. He has a whole website. But
Fascinating character. Okay, sorry. Go on.
so surprisingly, the information itself was not the issue. The information in the article that got pulled. So the article got pulled, but it wasn't the information itself that was the issue. It was Madsen's own reputation, and there was also another problem. While the information was technically true, that the information he shared with the Observer, while that was technically true, it was not secret information, and Madsen was not leaking anything that he was solely privy to. In fact, all of this quote-unquote secret info was freely available to the public on NSA's own website.
But going through the NSA website, come on,
That's
this guy made it
it
direct.
requires an NSA ComSec to do it. That's we needed him. We needed his help.
Pretty brilliant, actually. It's a pretty brilliant thing. Are you gonna tell me what you think of like? Is this okay? Can I ask now? You're probably gonna get into this, but is this guy? Is he crazy? Is he a true believer? Is he just a smart person who knew to sort of capitalize on a crazy aspect of the left or conspiratorial thinking? What's this guy's like psychology as best as you can gather? And again, I don't recommend making medical diagnoses from afar.
And
I wrote a
we get
whole
to that.
Lancet article, BMJ article about this. So I totally understand that. But like, where do you think what's his reasoning behind this?
So I think he's an opportunist. I think that he sees a lot of these conspiracy theorists as easy targets and ways to get more attention for himself. The reason why I believe that and why I don't think that he is just crazy is that so much bullshit that gets spread, so many complete nonsense conspiracies can be traced back directly to him as the initial source.
Mm,
So he is making this shit up, like
mm,
almost certainly making this shit up. And
yeah.
he's not getting tricked into it by somebody else. Like for decades, he has been the source of these things that have no other source. And so, in order for him to be making this stuff up, I think that he is being opportunistic. He's coming up with these ideas to sound like he has an in somewhere, has some kind of secret information somewhere.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would just be him rehashing some other bullshit.
Yeah.
Whereas he's making this up, like he made this stuff up a long, long time ago. Like I think in the 90s, mid 90s or something like that.
Mm.
So this was like, it's really bizarre. Like he comes up with this stuff, and some of the details are, um they're complicated enough that he's put some thought into it, and I think that kind of not verifies, but I think it's evidence to me that he is not crazy. He's
Yeah.
unless something in his mind is telling him these things and he sincerely believes them, which I don't think he does.
It's
I
like he's recreating Q drops, but for like people on the left.
Yeah, it's really weird. Well, okay. Well, let me get more into describing this guy. And then I would like to discuss more about what we think about him toward the end, because he he's an interesting character to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the the author of the Observer article said that the publication did not speak with Madsen for the story, the one that got pulled. But Madsen later contradicted that, saying that he was in fact interviewed for the article. It doesn't matter ultimately because either way, Madsen was the source cited for the supposed classified information.
Huh.
Surprisingly, so sorry, forget the surprisingly. I'll have to edit that out. Uh,
Yeah.
this isn't the first or last time Madsen has sold himself as having some kind of inside scoop. He even claimed to have inside information about Barack Obama, our first gay president. So
Is this the guy
wasn't
that
wasn't
spread the story
that
about?
yeah, that was pretty
Okay, sorry.
neat, right? That
Yeah,
we
yeah.
Dr.
I
Hoda,
remember that.
like, was so I thought that was pretty neat that we elected our first gay president,
Yeah,
Barack Obama. That
I was pretty proud of
that
us.
was that was pretty, yeah, that was progressive. That was progressive back then. Uh, so yeah, I got that information from, let's see, Wayne Madsen. Okay, yeah, yes, yeah, he is the guy who came up with that. So according to Wayne Madsen, Obama is secretly gay, and he made gay bathhouse visits. And if you keep reading into this, Obama and Rahm Emanuel would pursue gay bathhouses together.
Well, I mean, he's not going to go by himself. Rahm
Yeah, you're
Emanuel is
gonna
going to
bring
go
a
with
friend.
him. He's going to figure out like the best people for him to pick from. I mean, that's what a guy like Rahm Emanuel will do for you. Get yourself a chief of staff that has your back
That's right.
in the bathhouse.
That's right. Have a wingman. He'll be your wingman.
Well, I bet he was amazing at
Yeah.
that. Oh my God,
Um,
if Rahm Emanuel like worked for Bill Clinton, do you know how many more women would have been probably harassed
oh man,
by Bill Clinton?
he would have.
It would have been
Clinton would have had
amazing.
a plethora of women to attack. Like,
Oh
oh
man.
man,
He wouldn't be settling for like interns. He would
yeah,
be like out of the clubs.
that's
Like
right.
it would be
He would have been picking up
amazing.
stranger women. Like this, that would,
Yeah.
yeah. Too bad. Too
And then
bad.
doing
Too bad he didn't have Rahm Emanuel to make
problematic
him
things.
more of a predator.
Yeah.
That went in a direction I didn't expect, but
Sorry.
so now, Kaveh, I've got another bombshell for you.
I'm ready.
It's about Obama. Now, Obama used to describe his mother as skeptical of organized religion, but still spiritual. But what kind of spiritual? Hard-hitting investigative reporter Wayne Madsen speculates that she secretly worships a farting dwarf god, and I wish to God I was kidding.
Hmm.
Yeah, so he posted on his website that Obama's mother worships a farting dwarf god. I
Wait,
didn't.
so hold on. Let's hold on. You can't just say that sort of thing to me and then
Uh,
hope to gloss over it. Um, was the farting like a byproduct of this dwarf god's powers, or was the farting a integral part of the god's omnipotence or powers? Where does the farting and where does the dwarfness play into this god?
well, I would have to. I think that considering it came from Wayne Madsen, I would have to bet that the dwarf god never farted in the first place, and he made that part up.
Boy, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to Google this right now because I need to know. Hold the
What, you're
fucking on.
Googling a
Okay.
farting dwarf god?
Okay. Dwarf god farting. Let's see what we have here. Okay. Okay. Hmm. Oh, okay, that didn't work. Are there any farting dwarf gods? Oh my goodness. What is this going to do to my algorithms? There are no officially worshipped farting dwarf gods. The only thing that comes close is Crepitus. It's not Crepitus, is it? An alleged Roman deity of flatulence.
Mm,
All right. What the fuck, man? What is the farting? What you ruined my fucking Google search algorithms. That's gonna haunt me in the future. What? Can you explain like
I,
what why? What? Why? Where? Why? How?
I wish I could, but in order to read that full article, I would have had to pay to be a member of Wayne Madsen's website, and I didn't want to do that.
That's fair.
So he made
That's
he when sharing that article, he put that as part of the claim. I wouldn't doubt that if you were to read that full article, it doesn't mention a farting dwarf god at all because it said, "Did Barack Obama's mother worship a farting dwarf god?" Question mark. See, that question mark absolves him from telling a complete lie.
got you.
Yeah,
Got you.
it's the
I mean, there's just really not enough flatulence related god related material out there. So
yeah.
I'm again, as a gastroenterologist, I need to know what the connection is. But you're right. That's
un-
asking that kind of question defeats the whole purpose of this exercise.
Yeah, I think, and I think I don't think we're ever going to find a farting dwarf god because I think that was made up entirely. Um, but
Wow. God damn,
uh,
that's a hook.
yeah,
Boy, does he know how to write a fucking hook to make you
yeah,
want to pay?
I
Because
almost
that's
I almost paid because then I'd have access to a lot of other articles that he wrote, and a lot of more nonsense. But I'm like, I think I've got enough to work with this guy.
yeah.
But I also didn't want to give him money. Um,
No, I agree. Yeah, thank you for not doing that.
so the Matson's nonsense goes on like this, and the idea that anyone takes him seriously, I think, is astonishing. Yet somehow he was a repeat guest on the highly trustworthy and reliable news program known as InfoWars.
Hmm.
They, Alex Jones had him on regularly, and Alex Jones. This is the first time I heard of him. I can only assume he's a reputable source of journalistic integrity and hugely respected by all.
Yeah.
He So he was a frequent guest on InfoWars at the time that the Observer article was published. But hell, let's not look into the fucker. Let's just quote him because he was a contractor for the NSA back in the 19 fucking 80s. Now,
Just real quick, that definitely happened. He really was like he did work for the NSA. That's a real thing this guy did.
that is okay. So that's something that I've been racking my brain about. So there are a lot of sources that take that at face value, right? You know, and but the thing is, with as many of these news articles that have quoted him, some of those are the sources when they out him as a guy who's full of shit. They refer to him as a former NSA contractor. But the problem with that is that it's coming from the same sources that fucked up by using him as a source in the first place. So, and you can't on his on his website, which okay, I'll get to that. I'll get to that. We'll
Okay,
talk a little bit about that.
sure. Oh, I'm sure I'm getting ahead of myself.
It's something that's been troubling me a little bit with Madsen. But I do have some bad news, Kaveh.
No.
Yeah, I have some bad news. Wayne Madsen and Alex Jones are no longer friends.
Oh fuck. What
I
can I
know.
believe in anymore?
I know.
It's like Hall and Oates.
I
Like,
know. It's so sad to see, two greats break apart like this. But you see, Alex Jones, he's controlled by Israel.
oh, he is.
Yes, and so is everything else that Wayne Madsen doesn't like. If he gets in a fight with anybody, suddenly they're a shill for Israel.
Wow.
And so I am going to touch on this real quickly. I took out some things that I wrote in the script about some infighting on the right, and part of the reason. So essentially, there are a lot of voices on the right that claim that the left and the right are at war with each other, et cetera, et cetera. And I was going into some details about how a lot of times there are the threats coming from inside the house, essentially,
Mm,
because there are a lot of scary and dangerous people who are accusing each other of being shills for Israel, right?
mm-hmm.
So this is Madsen perpetuates a lot of hate toward Alex Jones because of Alex Jones supposedly being a shill for Israel. And I took that out of the script because of a recent high profile murder. And I didn't want anybody to think that I was ascribing, because like you and we were planning this episode way before that event even happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took that out of the script because I didn't want anybody to think that I was putting some kind of motive on, the recent event that happened.
Mm.
But I don't think that what happened recently really moves the needle significantly in terms of statistics or anything like that. But it's 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 also something that I didn't want to get misinterpreted. So essentially,
Sure. Yeah, I think I get what you're saying here. What's interesting to me is in a world that we live in, a real world where there is lobbying that's well known and described from organizations like APAC that exist and you can track, you would choose to focus that energy on shit like Alex Jones.
right?
You know, like if you cared about that, maybe you look into like say how much Richie Torres gets, or you look into how much your senator gets from APAC,
Right.
Hakeem Jeffries or whatever. Why why if that really actually bothered you, if you cared about that sort of stuff, and why you focus on Alex Jones and not something important or real.
Yeah, yeah, it seems it, and that's one of the things I think that makes, well, I would say it would make Madsen even more interesting as a character, if it weren't for the fact that there are a lot of people who won't listen to Alex Jones any longer because he's not out and out a Nazi enough, and I'm talking like actual self-proclaimed Nazi groups. They won't listen to Alex Jones because he's not being an open Nazi, and so it's that kind of it's weird to spend that much energy fighting somebody who's probably on your side, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately,
I mean, I, I
I
don't mind. I don't mind that there's a little bit of chaos in the right side of the world,
Mhm.
but it is absolutely absurd at the
Yeah,
same time.
it's really weird to, and when you look into it, it only gets there's no bottom. There is no bottom. It just keeps getting weirder. Um, but but you like so it does make me crazy that when right wing people share absolute bullshit and muddy the waters of reality, but I think that it is even more harmful for the enemy of our enemy to turn out to be such a fucking nut. And so the fact that Madsen is the enemy of our enemy and still our enemy, kind of, in terms of argument of sake. The fact that he is such a fucking nut and he's the one being vocal about people like Alex Jones, I it's it makes things even more complicated to understand. And he is not only polluting the air with nonstop horse crap, but he's creating fuel for the fires for the rest of the right wing. Just the rest of the nuts to say, not all the right wing, but the rest of the right wing nuts to say, look, they'll make up anything to make Trump look
Yeah.
bad. That kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, we we have to ask what we have to gain from this and what we have to lose from this. Like there's no real benefit to backing or supporting someone insane like this. First of all, it's wrong to do. But even in the best case scenario, say we were to believe that per- supporting someone like this who spouted shit that was crazy and wrong, say that it did help us in some small way, that way it affects us and benefits us is so small. It's so small. Like, who is he pulling over? Who is someone like Wayne Madsen pulling over to the left? That wasn't like, I mean, that's a small percentage, and that's a percentage of people that is just gonna go right back to the right whenever they find the next conspiracy theory. They're probably not voters, to be honest with you. Like, I
Right.
would love to see like the percentage of people who saw this meme in the first place and then actually also believed it, and then were people who had a history of voting. I bet you the answer is infinitesimally small,
Right.
and
Yeah.
there's no benefit in it for us to do that. We should call bullshit when we see bullshit, not because it's going to give us more credit with the right. The fucking people on the right will not give us more credit, but because we have more important things to do and we have real things to fight and real things to work on. And supporting crazy claims like this on Facebook doesn't help us. It just
No,
doesn't help us.
no. Yeah, and I think the part of the reason why I do this podcast and why I look into nonsense like this is because and I'll the we're almost toward the end of the script, but the um I will get into this a little bit more detail, but it is an exercise in recognizing bullshit. And this meme is almost a caricature of bullshit. Like it is not something that would be easy for the average person to believe.
Right.
But because this is so exaggeratedly stupid, it's a good example of a seemingly left wing source of bullshit um, being paraded around as if it's true. And there could be things that are a lot more difficult to sniff out that are also bullshit. And if that gets spread, and then that one thing, suddenly we're all liars.
Can I, in defense of people on the left, and again, this is so weird for me because I'm not like, I never found myself an inherently political person. I find
Right.
myself, I feel like I'm very moderate in almost every setting. But in my personal experience, what bothers me the most about shit like this is that when you point out someone on the right who posts something crazy like this, even if you, like, say you know them on Facebook and they trust you to some degree and you point out to them, the best case scenario is they drop it and they move on.
Yeah.
They don't apologize online. They don't apologize to you. They just leave it alone.
Yeah.
If, heaven forbid, your family member or your friend posts some crazy leftist shit and you're like, hey, actually, this is not true. They're like, oh shit, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
That was my bad.
Mhm.
My bad. And it's such a fucking difference in like the energy that comes from that mistake that it's so grossly unfair to me. It's so
There's a huge imbalance. Huge imbalance.
huge, huge imbalance
And
in how this works. And I do not have a good answer for that, but it is a intrinsic problem I find, my personal experience between the right and the left. It's really rare. I do have friends that are on the far right because again, I am an old and I have Facebook and I'll see them and I'll like they'll post something and I'll be like, this is actually not accurate for whatever reason because I know young people like yourself and they'll help me steer me towards the right bit of evidence. And the best case scenario is that person takes away the tweet or the post or whatever, and then it's gone. There is no public, there's no like change in their mindset. There is no like, okay, that was a mistake. Maybe I need to reevaluate where I get my news sources from. There's none of that.
there's
There's
also
none of that.
it's also extremely rare that they'll ever do anything to take back the lie,
Right.
to correct it,
Right.
um, and so not only do they get to erase this, mistake that they made, but they get to benefit from the damage they've done with it already.
Yeah.
And whereas on the left, like more people are likely to be critical of that, both of each other and themselves.
Right.
And so it kind of it just doesn't seem right, It doesn't
No,
seem right at all.
I have an overdeveloped sense of injustice and it bothers me
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah. Yes,
Sorry.
it's stressful, honestly. It really is.
It really is. It's
Um,
a lot. It's a fucking stressful thing. That's
yeah.
why I don't go on Facebook that much anymore.
Yeah. Um, so, talking about the amount of attention that Wayne Madsen actually gets, in an interview with on a podcast called Failed State Update, I'll give that podcast a 2 out of 10. Would not recommend. Madsen, as a guest on there, he claimed that Donald Trump's father was arrested in full hood and gown at a KKK demonstration on Memorial Day in the 1920s. I read the article that Madsen is using as a source here, and nowhere in it does it say that Fred Trump was in full garb. And most would say that the news page does not prove that Fred Trump was even a supporter of the KKK, but he was arrested among the demonstration, and he did share a lawyer with the KKK members who were arrested that day. So if I were a betting man, anyway, Madsen's fast and loose relaying of this event as Fred Trump being in full KKK garb just shows how little he seems to care about verified facts. And I think if you're going to call yourself a journalist, you should be more careful with your reporting. And sure, it would be, a fun gotcha that people could have if for a fact Fred Trump was arrested in full KKK garb. Um, the it's there's not the evidence to support that.
And also, I mean, who are we fucking kidding? Like, we are way past that. That is such a quaint 90s concept that having a family member who is directly in the KKK would affect you adversely in this country. That is not a thing that would matter at all. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just not, it's just not these days, so fucking tragically, it does not matter.
right. And the thing is too that if Trump's father was a KKK member, and it doesn't mean that Trump owns that mistake. It doesn't mean that he owns those actions. Now, what Madsen's point in the podcast is that, well, Madsen's father, he saw persecution of Jewish people and, of by Nazis coming after them and all this stuff. And so his upbringing gave him a very good empathy toward Jewish people, whereas Trump not so much because his father was a KKK member. And so, I mean, yeah, we do get influenced by our parents a little bit, but the whole, using somebody's parent to kind of judge the character of a person, like
Yeah.
judging a person based on their father, that again shows a lack of integrity with Wayne Madsen, in my opinion.
Right. 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 Yeah.
I don't think it's an appropriate
Again, there's
thing to do.
so much. There's so much every day to just directly attack Trump for the things he's done on a daily basis. We don't need to create. We don't need to dig,
We
even
don't.
though digging is interesting and we'll find interesting stuff. You don't need to. There's
Right.
stuff here.
And he's
There's
doing things right now in public.
as we speak. Yeah.
It's fucking nuts. So there's no embellishing needed. You don't need to embellish it. It's
That's
bad as it
It's
is.
bad. It's bad.
And so, like, while Wayne Madsen isn't exactly saying complete bullshit here, he is blurring the lines a bit and employing some speculation. And that's why I got so annoyed with people on my side trying to psychologically evaluate Donald Trump through the TV. And the when I was in college in psych classes, we were actually asked to evaluate the behaviors of public figures, but we were reminded that clinically it doesn't mean much, and
Yeah.
that the assignments were purely a speculative exercise. Unfortunately, for a while, you couldn't look right or left without somebody making claims about Trump's mental condition. And
Yeah.
the fact is, I don't know. I'm not his personal psychologist, and no self-respecting psychology professional would pretend to be able to psychoanalyze Trump through the TV. Also, the information that we do receive about Trump's mental health or physical health or anything else, it goes through the filters of biased sources.
Yes.
And with Trump, this is especially true. And whereas he was, well, in your BMJ article,
Yeah.
that's why I liked what you said about. Do you want to explain a little bit what it is? I don't want to.
So no, you're really, this is something that's important to me. So we put an article out about a year and a half ago, year ago with Gavin Yemi, and we discussed the importance and why we should have an independent panel, medical panel, to assess the health of our leaders, our most important leaders, like our presidents. So we don't have to have all this guessing that happens behind the scene. We don't have to wonder if we're being told truth or lies. And this is, and I hate the both sides things in general, but this is actually something that does apply literally to both sides.
Yes.
To either Biden or to Trump, we should know what's going on when it's important. We don't need to know about how their dick works. That's not important. But we should know if there is mental clarity, if there is a serious medical condition that might cause them some difficulty down the road, like, or something that could lead to an important decision that needs to be made down the road. These are things that should be assessed by an independent medical panel. That wouldn't be hard to do. I mean, it's easy to make that happen. Not every factor of the health needs to be shared, but some of them do. And, you know, I do sometimes get people asking me, did Trump have a stroke? And truthfully, no. I mean, I don't know. Maybe microscopic things, but I won't know. But if we could see his medical history, or if it could be assessed by this panel, they could give their conclusions. I do think that would save a lot of worry, a lot of trouble, and in 98% of cases, it would probably work in the president's favor.
Yeah.
That it would help allay fears, because you would have a panel of people who know what's going on and are able to discuss that in a way and relate that in a way that people can understand. Because the truth of it is, like, you know, the cankles that Trump has, it's not a big deal. Really, it's not a big. For someone his age, that's the least of my worries with him. And if you have a medical panel that says, yeah, having some change in his venous stasis or his blood flow is pretty normal for a person of his age, and it doesn't affect his mentation, then it would actually work in his favor. But now it's out there and people are like, well, look at him. He looks dopey on stage. He's falling asleep all the time. He's got these weird cankles and the bruising on his hands, etc. And we're making more out of it than we probably should.
Yeah.
So I do believe that an independent panel of medical um, assessors would be the best way to do that, and it could very easily be done in a bipartisan way.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's why I liked that article so much is because it's such a simple solution and it would allay a lot of fears. And the fact that I would imagine that the most resistance to this kind of thing would probably come from the right. What's odd about that is that had there been a medical panel for Trump and, an independent medical panel for Trump and an independent medical panel for Biden,
Right.
we probably would have learned more scary things regarding
Right.
Biden's mental health,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and that's
And
it
also,
would have worked out
listen,
in their favor
and this
more
is
than likely,
also
but
this is
we
this is
don't know.
also this is also conjecture, but it may have diagnosed things for Biden earlier
Right,
than just
yeah,
going through like one doctor who has access to all his records and can't share them. So it probably would be better for them overall in terms of their health should
yeah,
we be able to share those things with an actual panel of experts. And these are, like it or not, the most important people in the country.
yeah.
We should have like a team of experts working for them in that way. So, um, anyways, you can read them, the British Medical Journal or the BMJ, not the Bowel Movement Journal, which you might assume I'm part of. So you can
Now
read
now I didn't assume that because I know what the BMJ is, but,
strong, fancy. It's your fancy.
yeah, no, so I guess the major point of this episode, is to be careful about, uh, sharing things and careful about sources, especially, because even if something were to go viral, right, and it actually turned out to be true, just the fact that Madsen is the source, it would be almost
Right.
disqualifying on its own, you know? And it's tempting sometimes to misrecognize people like Madsen because he called Rupert Murdoch an obviously evil person. And I'm like, well said, So, um, and it's hard. And he said he was on Bill O'Reilly, and Bill O'Reilly was talking about the war on Christmas, and multiple times Madsen said to him, "Come on, Riley, there's no war on Christmas. This is a stupid waste of our time." And he said it multiple
Wow.
times to Bill O'Reilly on his own show. So in those moments, you see somebody like that, and you think, "This, I like this dude." You look into him, and he's a fucking batshit lunatic. So you
I
got to be
mean,
careful with sources like this.
yeah, twice a day. I mean, he wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong about that one.
Yeah,
But yeah, you're absolutely right. It does. I mean, like it or not, like a source like this, no matter if this guy somehow did break the news on something amazing, it would go nowhere. It would
right.
go nowhere
Yeah,
because of his history. So
right.
yeah,
Well, that's all I got for you. Thank you so much for being on again. I appreciate it.
it's amazing. I appreciate the work you do, man. It's excellent. I think this is a very important topic. I think this is a very important thing for us to discuss. I mean, I think it's a really interesting topic. Like, where does the left draw the line on these things? How do we decide, how to fight back? How do we fight back? Do we fight back dirty as they do? And I think it's a great discussion to have because personally, I don't think we do. I think there's enough real truth for us to fight hard and aggressively on truth.
Right.
And I think doing this sort of thing, I think will always be the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that you're doing it. So it's a real pleasure to come on and see another terrible, terrible meme.
Yes, yes. Another terrible meme. Well put. Thank you all so much for watching, good or listening. God damn, I'm on camera, so I'm
Both.
getting confused. Well, both potentially, yeah. Thank you all so much for listening, and goodbye, everybody.
Bye.